Welcome to this weekend edition of Cape Town News. Today is Saturday, the 1st of March, 2025, and in case you missed it, here's a recap of the top stories that made headlines in the Western Cape this past week. Students at Stellenbosch University have joined nationwide protests against historical debt exclusions, demanding urgent intervention in financial aid policies. The demonstrations erupted last week as several students faced deregistration due to outstanding fees, leaving many without accommodation or access to classes. Student leaders claim that the university's policies disproportionately affect disadvantaged students, exacerbating inequality in higher education. The protesters have called for debt relief measures and a revision of financial exclusion policies. Campus disruptions, including lecture hall shutdowns and sit-ins, have been reported, with student organizations urging authorities to respond swiftly. University management acknowledged the concerns and has agreed to engage in discussions with student representatives. Meanwhile, the protests have gained traction nationwide, with other institutions such as UCT and Wits University also experiencing student-led demonstrations. The issue has reignited debates over free higher education and government funding for universities. As the situation unfolds, Stellenbosch authorities have urged for peaceful negotiations while maintaining campus security. Cape Town authorities have intensified efforts to combat crime following an alarming increase in violent incidents across the metro. Over the past week, several gang-related shootings and robberies have prompted law enforcement to reinforce operations in high-risk areas. The Western Cape government has called for a multi-agency approach, combining SAPS, Metro Police, and community watch groups to improve response times and intelligence sharing. Additional patrols and targeted operations have already resulted in multiple arrests, including suspects linked to ongoing gang violence in areas like Manenberg and Mitchell's Plain. Authorities have also announced plans to deploy more surveillance cameras and increase the presence of the anti-gang unit. However, community leaders continue to call for more long-term interventions, such as youth development programs and job creation initiatives to prevent crime at its roots. Police have urged residents to remain vigilant and report suspicious activity as efforts to curb criminal activity intensify. The Western Cape's Minister of Social Development, Jaco Lont, has welcomed the announcement that the SASSA-Postbank card replacement deadline has been extended to the 20th of March. This move aims to ease the pressure on beneficiaries who are still transitioning to the new system. However, Lont has urged the national government to increase the number of service points across the province, as long queues at existing facilities have left many elderly and vulnerable residents waiting for hours. The minister expressed concerns that if additional service points are not introduced, the extension will only delay but not solve the backlog issue. Over the past few weeks, SASSA beneficiaries have raised frustrations over the slow pace of card replacements, particularly in rural areas and high-density suburbs. Many grant recipients rely on these payments as their only source of income, making uninterrupted access to their funds essential. The Western Cape Department of Social Development has confirmed that they will be monitoring the situation closely and will continue to push for improved accessibility. Beneficiaries are encouraged to use the extension wisely and replace their expired cards before the new deadline to avoid disruptions in grant payments. A 25-year-old female paramedic in Khayelitsha was kidnapped, hijacked, and raped while responding to an emergency call, sparking national outrage and renewed calls for better protection of emergency workers. According to police reports, the paramedic and her colleague were ambushed while parked near the Matthew Goniwe clinic. A group of 7 men forced them out of their ambulance, stole medical equipment, and took the paramedic to another location where she was sexually assaulted before being left stranded. Her male colleague was not harmed. Authorities have launched an intensive manhunt for the suspects, with Police Minister Senzo Machunu vowing that those responsible will face the full force of the law. Premier Alan Winde is set to deliver the State of the Province address, SOPA, tonight, at the NG Church Hall on Church Street in Beaufort West. This marks the 5th time the SOPA is held outside Cape Town, underlining the provincial government's commitment to engaging directly with communities across the Western Cape. The address will commence at 18:30 and be broadcast live so that all Capetonians can stay informed about the province's plans. In his address, Premier Winde is expected to focus on the urgent need to enhance safety across the province. With recent incidents of crime and gender-based violence shaking the confidence of communities, the Premier will outline robust strategies designed to reduce crime, expand law enforcement resources, and strengthen community policing forums. He will also announce investments in social development programs aimed at addressing the underlying causes of crime and violence. Capetonians have long demanded more effective measures to combat gang activity, illegal firearm proliferation, and other security challenges. Stakeholders, including opposition leaders and community organizations, are calling for tangible action rather than mere promises. A wildfire broke out on Table Mountain, prompting the immediate closure of hiking trails in Newlands and Kirstenbosch. Firefighters have been deployed to contain the blaze, which is currently burning in a difficult-to-access region above the Lady Anne Barnard Trail. According to San Parks, more than 50 firefighters are on the ground, supported by aerial water bombers. Fire crews are facing challenges due to limited water access and rugged terrain, but at this stage, no structures are at risk. Capetonians have been urged to stay away from the affected areas while emergency teams work to bring the fire under control. The Table Mountain National Park Authority will provide updates on trial reopening once it is safe for hikers to return. The cause of the fire is still under investigation, but with hot and dry conditions persisting, officials are warning of an increased risk of further wildfires in the region. Cape Town is intensifying its efforts to implement an open skies policy, aiming to stimulate economic growth, attract investment, and make air travel more accessible and affordable for all Capetonians. Alderman James Voss, the Mayoral Committee member for Economic Growth, has formally addressed a letter to Transport Minister Barbara Creasy, urging the national government to consider adopting this transformative policy. An open skies policy involves the liberalization of air transport regulations, removing restrictions on international and domestic routes, flight frequencies, and pricing. This approach encourages competition among airlines, leading to increased flight options, reduced airfares, and enhanced service quality. For a global city like Cape Town, such a policy could significantly boost tourism, facilitate business travel, and open new avenues for trade. However, the proposal requires careful consideration of various factors, including bilateral agreements, infrastructure readiness, and potential environmental impacts. Stakeholders from the aviation industry, tourism sector, and local communities are encouraged to participate in discussions to ensure that the policy framework aligns with the city's sustainable development goals. The national government is currently reviewing the proposal, with consultations expected to take place in the coming months. Cape Town law enforcement agencies have dismantled a sophisticated syndicate involved in the fraudulent registration and licensing of imported second-hand vehicles. The operation led to the arrest of 12 individuals, including officials from the Transport Department, who were allegedly complicit in the scheme. The syndicate's modus operandi involved manipulating vehicle registration systems to produce counterfeit licenses for vehicles that did not meet South African import regulations. During the raids, authorities confiscated over 400 vehicles that were illegally registered and in circulation. This seizure represents a substantial effort to remove potentially unsafe vehicles from the roads and serves as a stern warning to other fraudulent operators. Law enforcement officials emphasize that tackling corruption within vehicle licensing systems remains a priority. The postponement of the 2025 national budget to March 12th is causing uncertainty in the Western Cape's financial planning. The delay, announced by the National Treasury, affects the province's ability to finalize its own budget allocations, impacting service delivery and infrastructure funding. Western Cape Finance MEC David Mania expressed concerns over potential funding constraints, particularly for health, education, and crime prevention programs. The province is awaiting clarity on how allocations will be adjusted and whether additional funding for provincial projects will be included. Analysts warn that if national allocations are cut, the province may have to revise its spending priorities, potentially delaying essential projects. Provincial departments have begun internal reviews to assess budgetary adjustments, with a particular focus on ensuring that critical infrastructure projects, including school expansions, hospital upgrades, and transport network improvements, remain on schedule. Economic analysts note that the delay could also impact job creation initiatives and small business support programs that rely on national funding, making economic stability a top concern for local officials. A group of 150 volunteers recently gathered on Robben Island to participate in a coastal cleanup initiative aimed at preserving the island's unique biodiversity and reducing pollution in its marine ecosystem. Organized by local conservation groups and the Robben Island Museum, the initiative focused on collecting plastic waste and other debris that pose risks to endangered seabirds and marine life. Conservationists highlighted the growing impact of plastic pollution on the island's ecosystem, particularly affecting African penguins and other native species. Organizers hope that this cleanup will inspire further environmental awareness and encourage responsible waste disposal along Cape Town's coastlines. Moving into Sunday, the 2nd of March, the weather will be warmer and mostly sunny, with temperatures peaking at 29 degrees Celsius in the early afternoon. A gentle breeze of 10 to 15 kilometers per hour will bring relief from the heat, making it an excellent day for beach outings. Along the coast, southeasterly winds will create calm sea conditions, with waves reaching 1.5 to 2 meters. Whether you're heading to the beach, taking part in outdoor events, or simply enjoying the sunshine, it looks set to be a beautiful weekend ahead. Thank you for watching Cape Town News. If you enjoyed our update, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story. We appreciate your support. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay safe, informed, and connected.